Healthcare is too expensive. Employers are offsetting costs onto their employees. Who will make health benefits affordable for hardworking Americans and their families? You will. This is the Empowering Plans Podcast, a show dedicated to helping you once again emphasize the benefit in benefit plan. Now prepare to learn, plan, save, and protect with the Phia Group.
Welcome, everybody, to the Book of Russo. Hi, I'm Adam Russo, co-founder and CEO of the Phia Group, and welcome to my podcast. You know, every week, I promise to deliver you a special guest, someone different, someone innovative, someone that you're not just going to see any conference and any book signing. You're not going to see it in your neighborhood social club or the Lions Club or the VFW. These people are hard to get. These people are difference makers in our industry. And I think I got one for today. I'm not quite sure what he'll say, but I think I got a game changer. Actually, I know I do. Folks, today I have Dr. Jeffery S. Gold, the founder of Gold Direct Care, which is in Salem, Massachusetts. Now, folks, you all know that I'm in Massachusetts. You would think that I think Salem is close. Salem might as well be Canada because it's on the North Shore of Boston, not the South Shore where I live. So it's far away. I just want to make sure I tell everyone, say hello, please, to Dr. Gold. Dr. Gold, say hello.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, I've noticed that you already didn't follow the instructions. I said, say hello. If you watch our webinars, you would know that you're supposed to say hello. That's all right, Jeff.
I
It's
said
okay.
hello.
Did he? I'm about to rewind it. You might have said hello, but then you added on more things afterwards. But I'm not quite sure about that. We'll see. Folks, Jeff in 2014 learned about at that point in time, the well-kept secret of direct primary care. But right away in 2015, he opened his first office, Gold Direct Care. He became an entrepreneur, not just a doctor. Folks, if you don't know, I have so much respect for doctors for one reason, not the one you think, not because they save people's lives, which is obviously what they do. He can deal with blood. I can't even imagine. I would love to have been a doctor instead of a loser lawyer as I am, but the sight of blood just makes me want to faint. So I couldn't do it. However, folks, regardless of how he sounds, I want you all to know this guy is extremely brilliant. He went to the University of Pennsylvania, an Ivy League school, got a degree, not in general history, but in biology. He went to University of Massachusetts Medical School, and he did his residency at a family medicine practice in Scottsdale, Arizona, back in 2005. Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're busy. You got a lot of patience. You got a lot of growth opportunities still in your business. Wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today.
I'm happy to be here, and thank you for the kind introduction. I'm sorry if anyone can hear my dog vomiting, gagging, or slobbering in the background. I apologize ahead of time.
Actually, nobody can hear that, Jeff. So
Well,
I appreciate you telling us what what your current circumstances. That's good to know, because just in case you seem a little flustered or off your game, at least our listening audience will know why. So
Exactly.
If you don't mind, Jeff, I have a couple questions. It won't be too many. But before I ask the question, I just want all my listeners to know. Now, in this life, I'm 48 years old. I've met a lot of great people. I've met a lot of not so great people. You are one of the few people that I can honestly say I look up to. And I mean that with all sincerity. I hope that everyone understands that and knows why. It's not because you're an entrepreneur. It's not because you started your own business. I started my own business. A lot of people start their own business. A lot of people successful. Some people aren't as successful. What I'm most impressed with in your amazing, illustrious career is the fact that you decided to open a direct primary care practice in a state where it just didn't exist. It's like the first person decided, I'm going to open a fast food restaurant, and none existed. And there was actually pushback against fast food by the established dining facilities. It's literally what you did back in 2015. You opened Gold Direct Care in a world where direct primary care not only wasn't understood by most people, but practically, at least in this state, didn't exist. So I want to give you kudos for just being a trailblazer. So can I ask the question, why'd you do it?
I think it's pretty simple. I think every person in this country deserves better primary care and real primary care than what they've seen in the system. I look at it that I grew up in a small business family. My grandmother, who was her only grandchild, she lived about, 3 minutes away. I spent every Saturday night with her as a kid. She came to all my sporting events, school things, and unfortunately got sick with dementia at 62 and kind of had a slow downhill process and passed away about 2 weeks after I graduated high school. And, I just kind of watched what the system did to her and my family, both from a financial perspective and emotional perspective. At the time, we all used the same family physician, and I had a lot of anger towards him for not being more involved. But, I didn't realize the reasons why until I actually went into primary care myself, that you can't really take care of people at home when you have 20 to 25 people to see in your office and hours of paperwork to do. So I kind of realized that I was falling very much into the same model, because it's all we know as medical students and residents that choose primary care. And we have this idealistic view that we're going to be able to build relationships with people and focus on preventative care and be there when they need acute care and help manage their chronic diseases and blah, blah, blah. And then you get into the reality of it. And as you mentioned with your fast food reference, you really become nothing more than a fast food worker, except you're not making hamburgers and French fries. You're trying to take care of people and meet both their, physical needs and mental health needs and social needs and financial needs. And I just got tired of working on an assembly line and partaking in a system that I think hurts people more than helps them.
But still, regardless of all that, right? Most other primary care doctors would agree with your experience, right?
Yeah, I do.
What's different about you? Why did you decide that up? I mean, you gave up customers, regardless of good, bad, or ugly. You had business, you had a job, you had money. You gave up the traditional way of how a practitioner practices in this current environment and decided to go a whole new way. Why? I mean, I'm sure you had people tell you that you were crazy. Like, what was that experience like? If you don't mind telling us, what was the pushback that you got, initially to the idea? And then what was the real pushback, even from a legal standpoint, from the state, from the insurance commissioners, just from the big hospital systems, et cetera? I'm sure it must have been much different than what you ever expected.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on the first part about, why I decided to leave, I just started realizing that I was getting angry at patients and I was not happy and, had given up all my 20s to train and go to school. And now I'm nothing more than like a glorified data clerk. I became what I call a referralist, where all I was doing was referring people out to specialists for every little issue because I couldn't spend any time with them. And for me, I was 38 at the time, I'm 46 now. And I just was like, I have two options: either, shut up and just put up with what my life is going to look like. And there wasn't going to be any forward growth for me within the system because I was never one to just sit and be quiet and play the game, or stop complaining and actually try to do something about it. And, when I heard about direct primary care, it was kind of like the solution that I was never able to formulate, in my own head, was already out there with other areas of the country and people doing it. And I said, people deserve care like this, and wanted to do something different to rebuild the system from the bottom up and plant a seed. Everything we've done is tried to be a top-down fix. We always start with insurance first and then specialists, and then, oh yeah, by the way, primary care, where we spend, 6% of our dollar in healthcare on. And then we wonder why the system doesn't work. And it's like putting a mansion on the water on stilts.
Sorry, you mentioned, Jeff, that you planted a seed. How many other seeds were there planted already in Massachusetts when you decided to open new doors?
Really zero. I mean, the only one that I would say was close is Dr. Rashika Fernandapule from what the time was Iora Health, was based in Boston, and they were doing a membership type direct primary care model through big self-insured companies, unions, that type of stuff. And it was great. It worked, very well. But I was like, who's taking care of the people that are on the ground and looking, that either have no insurance or have these ridiculous deductibles? They can't afford care. They're afraid to go to the doctor because they're afraid of what the cost is going to be. And I'm like, we have the only service industry in the country where the provider and consumer of the service have no idea what the service costs at the time of service. Like, it's insane.
Great point. And question here. So when you opened, I'm assuming when people walked by, or were they confused? What is this exactly? Here's my insurance card. Who are you going to bill? What was that like? I mean, was that frustrating? And the point, how much of your time initially, or even maybe now, was spent just trying to educate people as to what type of practice you actually have?
It's still a battle to this day. You know that we've talked many times about how to scale this model across the country to self-insured employers. And, people look at you like you have three heads. And I think it's multifactorial. But I think number one is the version of primary care that heads of HR, CFOs, CEOs of companies are seeing is not what real primary care looks like. So they're like, why am I going to invest a per member per month fee to get the 45-minute wait, with an 8-minute visit? In their defense, it's hard to understand something that you haven't seen. You and your employees do it, so you get it, and you can testify to what it looks like and what the difference is and how it can save downstream. And the second thing is, to correct you a little bit, I don't think it's education. I think the hardest part is uneducating and then educating. You have to explain to people why this system is built against them, that they've been paying in.
Brainwashing they already had. You're basically brainwashing them.
Yeah, and you have to unbrainwash them and get them out of the fact that any other industry, when you talk about insurance of any sort, people know that it's there to protect them against major financial catastrophic loss in the case that something crazy happens. In health insurance, you say, what's good insurance? And they say it pays for everything.
Right.
It's a credit card.
Right.
The only problem.
It's not saving your health insurance for that major hospital visit with that major surgery. It's
right.
using it for an office visit.
And it's completely ass backwards, because if you look at it, the ACA, it didn't do all bad, but it tipped some things in a completely wrong direction, where if insurance worked the way that it should, you'd have a $250 mammogram every year that you pay out of pocket, with a health savings account or whatever. And then, God forbid, you have a mass or have something wrong in your breast, you're protected against the further scary, expensive care and workup. The way we have it is, we'll give you the $250 mammogram for free, but then we're going to expose a hardworking, blue collar, lower middle class family to $3,000, $6,000 deductible.
Exactly.
We have to flip that whole paradigm on its head, that insurance is not a form of payment.
To flip it, be honest. Is this going to happen in your lifetime?
Probably not.
So why do you do it? Why do you still believe in it? I mean, obviously you've had all the obstacles go against you, right? You've had all this, the brainwashing, et cetera, et cetera. Why? Is it the love of what you do, plus the optimism you have in regards to how this should be, what every company does, what our society should do? What is it?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it's doing the right thing to me. Like, I don't really know any different. And to me, even if I can't fix it myself or even make a huge dent in it, I'm damn well gonna try. I want to teach my kids that you do the right thing, even though it's hard. I mean, it's kind of like you have to choose your hard. I would probably be out of medicine if I continued to practice the way that I was practicing.
How much happier are you now than you were in 2013?
Depends on the day you ask me. It's a different type of hard. I would say when I'm actually in a room or helping somebody.
That's what I mean.
Really practicing medicine, it's really saved my career. And as much as I want to continue to help grow business and help more docs get out of the system, I would never give up my clinical practice. I mean, I think I love medicine too much, and sometimes it's doing less.
Can I make an observation on that point?
Yeah.
I've seen you speak at many conferences. I've seen you talk at plenty of places. I actually feel what you just said to me right there is what your message should only be when you talk to other docs. You share with them exactly what you just said, in the fact that when I'm alone with the patient one-on-one, the reason why I became a doctor in the first place, how that feels today versus how it felt when I was in the quote-unquote system is night and day. That's it. All the other stuff is great, right? Lowers the cost, this and that. But what you just said, how much happier you are in that one-on-one environment, I think that's what's really going to make the change. And I think by pushing that enough, we could see a drastic shift in your lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, I agree and disagree. I think deep down, that's what, a lot of docs from any specialty really feel at their core. But the issue is you have to make a living. And the
But
reason,
you show that you can.
yeah, but it's not easy. And I had to take on a good amount of debt to do this. And I think that until we can use people like you and other forward-thinking benefits advisors to really sell to their clients why this is so important and why it matters so much, it's going to be harder and harder to get people out of the system, though, because the reason they all go to the system and sign a contract and sign insurance agreements is because it's guaranteed income. And
Guaranteed customers.
right now, when you eliminate the third parties paying you, which is amazing, and it's, to me, for primary care, the only way to make it survive, you have no other way of getting income other than the people coming in your door, whether it's direct to consumer or to a self-insured or level funded employer. We can't just walk into a company and say, hey, I'm Dr. Jeff Gold, family medicine doc. Do you want to talk about your benefits and how we can restructure them and give your employees better care, better access, better savings, and downstream save you money and retain good employees? We can't do that. There's too many layers in between. But I think that's where the growth will be, though, because whether you like it or not, most people in the country get their benefits through their employer.
Exactly.
And they've got to
It's
start.
over 62% right now.
Right. But they've
That
got
are
to
self-funded.
start building plans that reinvest and refocus on primary care at the hub and build out around that rather than the opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can't be the afterthought anymore.
I have one last question. If I gave you $100 for every time someone compared you or what you do to MDVIP, how much money would you have?
I'd be able to pay off my debt and I'd probably have more money than you.
I mean, even now, when I tell people about our DPC experience and the fact
Yep.
that we have DPC for our employees, every time, oh, you're like MDVIP where you have like concierge service to your doctor. I'm like, no. MDVIP, you're paying for access, but you
Right.
still get a bill. There's still a regular bill like you have in the regular insurance world.
Yep.
This is totally different.
Yep.
Yes, you get that hour-long meeting. You're treated like quote unquote gold, but there's still the bill that goes to your insurance company. Very
Right.
different. I
Right.
mean, you must just roll your eyes when you hear that. I mean, what's your it's crazy.
I mean, I do, because it's frustrating, because as a free market person, you have to also look at how the free market can work against you. And unfortunately, employers and a lot of families and individuals spend more time worrying about what cup of coffee they're going to have a day than the type of primary care they get. And we do it for about the same amount of money as a coffee a day.
An individual like myself, 48 years old, walks in off the street. What am I paying?
I think it's $110 a month, I think. We do age-based pricing. We do 5 different tiers. Obviously, kids under 21 are like $40 a month or something, and then it goes up to $135 for 65 and up. Obviously, we expect as people get older, they're going to need more touch points and more kind of direct contact and stuff. Everybody does a little differently, but we're talking, you average it out, it's about $85 a month.
The price of a cup of coffee a day, I
Right.
could have access to an amazing doctor anytime I need one.
Yeah, and build a relationship.
Exactly.
The reality is, when you go in for a hip replacement, if your orthopedic surgeon, if he or she has a great bedside manner, it's awesome and it's an added bonus. But the reality is, you want to get off the table with a new hip and never see them again. That's a transaction. Primary care really is more of a relationship and needs to be revalued. I mean, I think we charge way less than we should for what we do, but the market will bear that. Like I always say, you don't go build a mansion on a foundation of stilts and wood. And that's kind of what we're doing with our healthcare system, is we're investing in all this great tech, and that's important. But
it's built on the wrong foundation. Do you have any last comments that you want to bring up, things that you want to share with our audience?
yeah, I mean, I just say to people very simply, if you're going to wait and think that your government or the insurance companies are going to fix this system for your benefit anytime soon, pack a really big lunch. The reality is, the system is not broken by the people who made it and continue to make it this way. If you want change, then you need to act with your feet and with your wallet and do things differently and be willing to be educated. you'll get on the other side eventually, and you'll be what I call a recovering insurance doc, a recovering insurance patient or employer, and you'll see the difference that we can do, because unfortunately the change really is up to us. We're all patients at some point, and we've got to build a better system for our kids and our grandkids, or else it's going to continue to fall apart.
Well, Dr. Gold, I want to say thank you. You're a great guest, great information. I want to let everyone know, not only are you a great doctor, a pioneer, an innovator, a visionary, you're also a good friend of mine. So just want to thank you for all that. So folks, on behalf of Dr. Gold and myself and our entire team here at Phia, thank you for empowering your plans with the Phia Group. And thank you, Dr. Gold, for joining us here today on the Book of Russo. Thanks again.
Thanks, Adam.